Well, welcome back to my channel. It's been nearly 2.5 years since my last upload, and you join me in one of those fake springs that you get every mid-March here in Ontario. It's like 14, 15 degrees, and it's a little bit breezy. I mean, we got 60-kilometer-an-hour gusts, so I wouldn't be surprised if at some point my shelter collapses on top of me. I just brought my little portable one, not really intending to be out for too long. I've got a rig in the water, and means I got a better chance than I do sitting at home on the couch. But I did this video for a couple reasons. Number one, to apologize for my hiatus from this channel. A lot has happened since that amazing session at Location X on A Night to Remember. But also to sort of recap things that have happened if you don't follow me on my other social media accounts, and as well to let you know what my plans are for 2020, pending, of course, some of the situations that are yet to unfold. As while I'm recording this, we are in the middle of a coronavirus outbreak, COVID-19. Hope you're all safe, and I hope that this video finds you well. So what has happened since 2017? Well, I guess since that video, I've done a couple of projects with the Angler Files. I started in July with the July 12 Months of Carp. Incredible episode that was shot right on the Otonabee River. And we had a lot of fish, a lot of good banter. So definitely check out that video, as well as all the other projects that I did with the Angler Files. And just check out the Angler Files in general. They're exceptional. Great quality, great content, lots of fun. So from that, I got a call from Jim Grayson and Ontario Travel and Tourism, and they were asking if I would be interested in guiding a couple of high-profile clients that year. And the first of those two clients was Babs Kiljewski, and I was, astounded. A German angling superstar like Babs coming to Canada to promote not only the fishing opportunities in Ontario, but as well was looking for a guide like myself. So definitely took it on, and we had a lot of fun. A lot of great fish were captured, and they were kind enough to share some stories with me, and it was just a good time overall. And around the same time, a perfect stranger on Facebook befriended me by the name of Paul Oxenham, and Paul has now become a very close friend of mine. And Paul was coming over from the UK. He was going to be visiting family in Port Hope, actually. And he told me that once upon a time he actually carp fished the Peterborough region, and not with not very much success. In fact, his wife actually outfished him. But he'll be so miffed to hear me say that too, that his wife outfished him. Had quite a big fish too. But he was, going to be coming over. He's going to bring some tackle, and he wanted me to put him on a fish. So I put him on a few, and he brought over some tokens of his appreciation. And since then we've just been such great friends, staying in contact. Had a couple of good sessions getting into the late summer, early fall. But my next high-profile client was on his way, and that was in the form of Matt Hayes, which was incredible. Matt Hayes and Richard Lee were coming to film a DVD in Ontario, right on Rice Lake. And I was so honored to have the opportunity to bait up a few swims for him. And, when we fished, we crushed it. Like, we absolutely crushed it. And funny enough, the Angler Files came up around the same time, and they were going to be shooting another 12 months of carp up my way. So I said, why don't you guys come and join us, and we can do all this sort of filming in the same locations, and have a really successful couple of days fishing. And yeah, I think Matt and Richard said they caught so many fish. Like, they said they were only staying for 2-3 hours at a time because they were having difficulty actually filming, talk to camera segments. But incredible. They had some beautiful fish. Stunning mirror on DVD as well. That actually will be eventually dropping on YouTube, by the way. So at some point, check out Matt Hayes' channel on YouTube, and you'll see that video, see myself and my awkward self in front of the camera. But yeah, an incredible opportunity. And yeah, 2017 like pretty much ended. A couple more quality fish, but really the highlight was meeting Matt Hayes. And so around the same time as Ontario Travel and Tourism had reached out to me about the high profile clients, I discovered I was going to be a father. I know, crazy. And so the latter half of 2017 and into 2018, my spouse Taya and I were preparing, a nursery and setting up a baby registry, and crazy, right? Emotions were just all over the place. You're scared, you're excited, you're anxious. If you have the kid, you know exactly how it feels, the lead up. As 2018 came about, I had to get out and do a couple of sessions. And I was very lucky actually to get out and find a couple of good days, and landed some pretty memorable fish. I caught a couple down in a new spot, went back to some familiar spots, and I caught I caught a fish that I really almost shouldn't have. Right, a amazing 28 pounder that I had to jump into my waist to get out of a snag, and I didn't bring my waders, and it was like end of April, maybe the beginning of May. It was cold. It was really cold, and that's probably I think the most memorable capture before May the 7th, the day that I became a father, and we welcomed my son Mika into the world. And it's taken some time, but trying to get my priorities in check, and you mature a lot, right? Like, so much changes, but it does take time. And I'll admit, the beginning of 2018, I didn't necessarily have my priorities in check. Looking to set down a job and whatnot, but my spouse was so understanding about how much my fishing meant to me, and I got it with a couple of really close friends, soon after my son was born, a couple of weeks anyway. And I got down and fished with Ashley and Eric and my new friend Sean. We crushed it, absolutely crushed it down there on the river. We had triple headers, double headers, lots of 20s. Paul actually came back over in 2018, and we took on Rice Lake at our friend Vince's cottage. I think there was like 100 fish caught that week or something like that. Just crazy. So many fish. Big fish too amongst them. There was a couple mirrors landed again. Just awesome. And obviously we shared some laughs and shared a few beverages. You know how it is. We had a proper social. It was a good time. Now, I did have a really good session at the end of June of 2018. My spouse had gone down to the States to visit some family with her parents, and they left me in charge of making sure that the fort stayed standing. I don't know why they would leave me with such a responsibility, but I had work and whatnot. So I managed to get 2 days off consecutively, and thought, well, let's go do an overnighter. Pre-baited a spot just on a whim. Just saw it, looked at it, looks right, let's go give it a go. And actually, that turned out to be a night to remember 2.0. Like, I think I had close to 30 runs. I think I landed 25 or more fish. It was insane. I lost a couple really big ones, but had a beautiful full-scale mirror out of that, and an immaculate 30 pounder. Just an amazing session. But pretty much after that, it slowed right off, and I focused in on my working and trying to support a family and trying to keep a roof above our heads before Taya was going to go back to work. And the season had a few ups and downs. I had a couple decent sessions, a couple more good fish, but 2018 was somewhat lackluster. And I finished off the year actually down in St. Catharines, fishing with John and Goldie of the Angler Files, and we did a project called The Last 36, my last 36 hours carp fishing for the 2018 year. And of course I chose, like, I was looking at the weather, right? I figured their weather's better than ours, you know, up this part of Ontario, down in southwestern Ontario, it's so much better. And of course I go down there and I choose probably the 2 crappiest days to go down, and it's like sleet, it's windy, it's cold, and yet we still prevailed. We still had a few fish. So, I mean, 2018 started off with a bang, went out with a bit of a fizz. But funny enough, I was having a bit of a conversation with the boys over in the UK, Paul and his friends, who were actually still having quite a successful year at that point. And I said to them, I would probably have more luck over on your side of the pond. And it was sort of a running gag. And eventually Paul just said, well, why don't you put your money where your mouth is? And we discussed it before that, his trip to Rice Lake, the next time he saw me, it better be on his side of the pond. And so going into Christmas of 2018, I decided, well, why not? And I booked a trip to the UK. So at the end of March, packed my bags and I was off to the UK for the itinerary of a lifetime. Somehow, Paul and his good friends Phil and Andrew had put together 3 days on the Yateley pads. And I was starstruck, to hear that I was going to be going to one of the most historically significant lakes in the UK, probably the world. Some of the most important fish, in the history of carp fishing have been caught out of the Yateley pads, the car park, and, I was just so, excited to get out there, and I documented as much of the trip as I possibly could. Did I mention it was a bit breezy out? To see 3 out of the 4 of us actually catch fish on the Yateley pads was just amazing. Paul had the 2 biggest fish in the lake, which is almost unheard of, and Andrew had a beautiful 30, and I had my very first UK carp on the Yateley pads, and I think I'm one of the only Canadians to have actually caught a fish at the Yateley pads. May have been one of the very first Canadians to ever fish it. I don't know. I guess someone would have to let me know if I'm wrong there, but absolutely incredible. And I can't thank the guys enough for putting that together for me. And Paul and I ventured out afterward to another lake at Walton Fisheries. Didn't necessarily go our way. We expected it was a higher stock, and we were riding off the high of Pads Lake, so we figured it should be easy fishing, and it turned out to be even harder than we had anticipated. But once again, I can't thank the guys enough for that, and it was such an incredible adventure. I came back to Ontario, and I started up my series that I had planned over the winter, which was the Creek Chronicles. Now, it started off that I was down at this creek mouth, and the plan was to just keep going back to that same spot over and over again. And that was true for the first 2 episodes. The first episode, I had 2 really quality fish. And then in the second episode, I returned to the same spot on a solo mission. And the goal was to just sort of do a how-to spring carping. That's just the wind. I'm not even going to jump for that. And so I, described my location a little bit, about why I was fishing it, the sort of the features in the water, the rig I was running. And, all the while I'm trying to film, catch a few fish. I had 2 on and, landed 2. It was a good start to the video. And then it went a little quiet. Whoa! Woo-hoo! Holy moly. Hold on to it, Captain. Jim, you can't push it any faster. Oh, we're losing that peg. Holy moly. Wow. I did mention it was windy. And while the action had slowed, I picked up the phone and, started talking with Pete Bowman of Fishing Canada. And we'd had this planned shoot for Lake Scugog, which by the time you see this, will have had its first airing on Global. And while I'm on the phone with him, I suddenly catch a glimpse of this white figure swimming towards me. And at first I couldn't really tell it was swimming towards me. It just looked like this white blob just below the surface. And I was thinking to myself, someone's gone and thrown a propane cylinder in the water, or maybe it was from the ice fishing season and no one bothered to clean it up. Like, terrible. And then the fins came out to the sides and I was like, oh my God, that's a koi. I watched this fish swim into my baited area for like over an hour. And I was literally just about to pack it in because I'd seen it, I knew it was there, and I thought, wouldn't this make an exciting, target for the Creek Chronicles videos? I was standing up to go and actually recast when I saw the fish was tails up, head down in the bait. And then all of a sudden the alarm sounded and I was into what became the Canadian record koi. 24 pounds, 2 ounces. It's an unofficially official record. I think it's, for the most part, most people agree that that is the biggest koi landed in Ontario. And it still gives me chills thinking about it. That was just such an incredible fish, and it was such an amazing fight. And I probably will never, ever forget just how much my knees were knocking as I was bringing it towards the net cord. So after that fish, I kind of went into okay, I can ride off this for a little while, and I didn't really find the need to go back to that spot, and actually haven't been back there since. And then as May came around, Pete and I decided we were going to go and do this shoot up on Lake Scugog at our friend Lawrence's property. Had an insane number of carp. Once again, it was just 20, 30 fish, in the time that we were filming, couple of hours. And then, I stayed the night, had some more fish in the morning, some really quality fish up to the, mid to high 20s. Lost a full scale at the net, but we don't talk about that. And yeah, what else happened what else happened last year? After Scugog, the goal was just to keep the Creek Chronicles alive and to, find a new swim and new waters to play in, and I did. And I found a little section and made a new friend in Nate, where episodes 3 and 4 were shot on his property, and literally just the public access on the north side of his property. Lots of quality fish caught there, and it was great to sort of get someone who had never carp fished before onto his first carp using Euro style tactics, and he was addicted. So made a good friend there. And after that, I went down to St. Catharines, and John, Goldie, and I once again put out a couple more productions, one of which Goldie actually deleted. Well done, Goldie. It wasn't a very exciting episode, to be fair. So at least of the three of them, he lost the one that was probably the most dry. It was just a whole bunch of banter, pretty much. We didn't actually catch anything. On a high note, I was welcomed onto the Urban Carp Collective team, which was quite an honor. It really runs in parallel with one of my beliefs that intercity fishing is an excellent way of teaching people that, you don't have to go on an amazing flight, into Algoma County in Ontario to have world-class fishing. You can get it right in your own backyard. Toronto Island, Peterborough, the opportunity that carp has for intercity, for catching trophy-sized fish, it's that the sky's the limit. And that's something that I've believed in for a very long time now. So to actually have a company recognize, and want to align with me, I couldn't say no to that opportunity. And I'm really grateful for that. So that sort of brings you up to date. Here we are now, it's 2020. And as I said, as I film this on this very windy day in a sort of false spring in the mid-end March, you know, we're in the midst of the coronavirus outbreak that has swept across this world and in its wake has left a lot of destruction. And I'm hoping that by the time this video airs, you know, that the country won't be in lockdown and that I might be able to get out and do a bit of fishing. So in the event that I can, I do have some projects that I have planned for this channel. And one of those projects is a series that'll be called Stories from the Collection. I have a rather eccentric and unique collection of rods and reels that I've acquired over time. You know, still have my very first carp rod, you know. So the goal is, you know, these objects aren't sentient, but I feel they can tell a story. And as a history major and as someone who literally geeks out in museums, you know, I look at objects as having some sort of sentimental value, and that even though, once again, they're not living, they're abiotic, I feel like they have a story to tell, and that's my job, to tell those stories. So I feel it's going to be kind of a unique thing. It really plays into the storytelling sort of aspect of my fishing. I really think that fishing's a lot of stories and connecting with people, and I think that this is a way that I can really connect with a lot of you. Perhaps some of you even remember, you know, your first rod, you know. So look forward to that, and definitely subscribe to this channel. The other plan that I had for this year may have to get pushed to the back burner in the event that we are social isolating for as long as what has been projected. But I have a really big project that I want to do, and if I can't do it this year, you know, there's always next year, and I've accepted that already. That's not a time-based thing. That doesn't have to happen this year, but you know, I'd rather put it together sooner rather than later. But that brings you up to speed pretty well. And I look forward to sharing more content on this YouTube page this year. I don't have high hopes for today. You know, I've just winged one out there. You know, no free offerings, no pre-bait, just put it out and see what happens, right? 2-foot zig rig off the bottom. That's how I'm feeling right now. But until next time, tight lines.